I joked about being single, and 3 vampire sisters claimed me on the spot. Elia's ward had never expected a casual joke to become the center of interstellar attention. He wandered through the bustling corridors of the Nebula Trade Station, a floating city of glass and steel orbiting the serene planet of Kainara. Aliens of every shape and size mingled together, their voices blending into a low hum of diplomacy. Humans, despite being relatively new to galactic society, had carved a place for themselves as communicators, engineers, and traders. Elias, a linguist and translator, fit in perfectly, or at least he thought he did. The reason for his presence tonight was a diplomatic reception, a gathering designed to foster cooperation among species that had very little in common. There were beings with translucent skin, creatures who spoke only in telepathy, and others who seemed to exist in multiple forms at once. Elias kept his focus sharp, translating conversation snippets for ambassadors and noting cultural quirks for his human colleagues. After several hours of small talk, he found a quiet spot near the observation deck, where the neon light of the station reflected against the distant stars. He leaned against the railing and sighed. "Humans are hopeless," he muttered under his breath. "We can't even stay in relationships long enough to make a decent story." A group of beings nearby laughed, but not all the laughter was what Elias expected. 3 women approached him with an elegance that seemed almost unnatural. Their pale skin shimmered faintly under the lights, and their eyes glowed faintly in colors that shifted with every glance. The taller of the 3 stepped forward, her gaze sharp and unreadable. "You spoke of humans' loneliness," she said in a voice that was both soft and commanding. "Did you mean it?" Elias blinked. Yeah, I mean, it's just a joke. Humans are short-lived. Relationships don't always last." The sisters exchanged glances. It was subtle, almost imperceptible, but Elias noticed the change in the air. Something had shifted. "By your words," the tallest said, her tone formal, "you have acknowledged your solitude. According to our traditions, you are now claimed." Elias laughed nervously. "Claimed? Wait, what? I was joking. Your humor is irrelevant," the middle sister interjected. "Acknowledgement of solitude is the declaration of availability. The claim is now binding." Binding? The word echoed in his mind. He had studied ancient alien cultures for years, but never anything like this. Elias tried to reason with them. "Listen, I think you misunderstood. Humans don't really do that. It was just a figure of speech. I wasn't serious." The third sister, the quietest of the 3, tilted her head and smiled faintly. "The human choice to speak truth without fear is admirable. Your words cannot be taken back." Other beings nearby had stopped their conversations, watching the exchange with curiosity. Elias felt a ripple of attention, and suddenly he realized that the entire reception might have stopped for this single moment. "I don't even know your names," he said, trying to regain some sense of control. "I don't even." "You will learn them," the tallest said, her voice calm. "We are Astra, Nyx, and Veloria. You are Elia's ward. By the law of our species, your acknowledgement has initiated the binding claim." "Binding claim," he repeated. "So, what does that mean exactly? Are you going to bite me or something?" The sisters' lips twitched in a faint expression that could have been amusement or mild exasperation. "No, violence is not necessary. This claim ensures protection of your reputation, your safety, and your well-being under our guidance. It is a recognition of potential, of value, and of responsibility." Elias blinked. He had expected danger, maybe intimidation, certainly confusion, but protection, responsibility. This was unlike anything he had read in cultural manuals. "You're claiming me because I joked?" he asked, incredulous. "That doesn't even make sense." "It makes perfect sense," Nyx said. "Your species' way of compressing truth into humor is efficient. You spoke without fear, and that is a rarity among long-lived civilizations." Elias considered this. Humans were indeed short-lived compared to most species he had met, but they survived by doing things that made no sense to others. Improvising, adapting, trusting, joking. That humor had gotten him into trouble tonight, but apparently it had also drawn the attention of three of the galaxy's most ancient and disciplined beings. "So, what happens now?" he asked cautiously. "Do I join you? Do I get a contract? Do I have to move somewhere?" Astra's eyes softened slightly. "You continue your life. The claim does not require relocation, obedience, or servitude. It is a formal acknowledgement. Should threats arise, your claim ensures that we act in your defense. Should opportunities appear, your claim allows us to assist you. It is an alliance built upon choice, not force." Elias took a deep breath. He had read about humans being called unpredictable in Galactic Council meetings. Perhaps this was the demonstration they had meant. By joking about his single status, he had become the center of an alien tradition that valued honesty over caution. Valoria, the quietest sister, stepped closer. "You have nothing to fear from us, yet your reaction is significant." How humans respond to sudden responsibility reveals more than centuries of study. "Sudden responsibility," Elias laughed nervously. I just wanted to be funny." "Humor is one of your species' greatest strengths," Nick said. "It disarms, it communicates, it tests. Tonight you demonstrated courage by being honest without expectation." Elias shook his head. "I don't feel courageous. I feel trapped in a very confusing alien law." "You are not trapped," Astra said. "You are observed, recognized, and valued. This is different from any bond your species normally experiences. Here, your individuality is respected. Your voice mattered." For the first time since the claim had been made, Elias felt a glimmer of understanding. These sisters were not trying to dominate him, not trying to control him. They were acknowledging him in a way that was alien but strangely flattering. The reception resumed around them, but Elias found himself unable to focus on anyone else. The whispers of nearby delegates, the subtle glances of ambassadors, all seemed secondary to the quiet presence of the three sisters. I guess I need to learn more about this," he admitted. "If I'm claimed, then I suppose there's a lot to understand." "Yes," Astra said. "We will teach you, but understand this, the claim is not punishment, it is opportunity. The galaxy is vast and your species' ways are fascinating. We have much to learn from each other." Elias looked at the three of them. The initial shock had not yet faded, but curiosity was growing. If humans survived by doing the unpredictable, perhaps this was exactly the type of unpredictability that made them remarkable. And he hesitated. "I guess I need to be careful what I joke about from now on." Nick smiled faintly. "Humor is powerful. It can summon alliances, spark conflicts, or even inspire legends. Use it wisely." For the rest of the evening, Elias moved cautiously, aware that his casual remark had shifted the balance of attention in the station. Every interaction seemed colored by the knowledge that three of the most ancient beings in the galaxy had formally acknowledged him. By the time the reception ended, the sisters had disappeared into the corridors of the station, leaving Elias with a strange mix of relief and awe. He had survived the claim without harm, yet the claim itself lingered like a gentle weight on his shoulders, a reminder that his words carried meaning far beyond what he had imagined. Walking back to his quarters, Elias thought about the peculiar path that had led him here. In a galaxy filled with ancient laws, rigid traditions, and species who measured time in centuries, humans remained fleeting, unpredictable, and wonderfully reckless. And tonight, that recklessness had drawn the attention of three immortal beings. Perhaps this was only the beginning, and somewhere deep inside, Elias realized that being single might never feel the same again. The next morning, Elias woke to the soft hum of the Nebula Trade Station. Sunlight, or what passed for sunlight in a rotating space station, slipped through the transparent walls of his quarters, reflecting off polished metal and glass. He sat on the edge of his bed, still processing the events of last night. The claim by the three vampire sisters was no longer just a strange story. It was now a part of his life. Elias had spent hours pacing, thinking about the claim. He had expected danger, threats, or some form of intimidation. Instead, he had been offered something far more unusual: recognition and protection. He still wasn't entirely sure what it all meant, but the idea that three ancient beings had taken an interest in a single human was both thrilling and terrifying. A soft knock at his door startled him. He opened it to see Valoria standing there, her expression calm but warm. "May I enter?" she asked. Of course," Elias replied, stepping aside. Valoria walked in gracefully, her presence almost magnetic. "We wish to discuss the nature of the claim," she said. "There is much to explain and you will have questions." Elias gestured toward a chair. "Questions? I think I have a whole galaxy of them." Valoria smiled faintly and sat opposite him. "Let us begin with the purpose. The claim does not restrict your freedom. It is not ownership, domination, or servitude. It is acknowledgement. Your species' willingness to speak openly, even in jest, is a rare quality among intelligent life. It deserves recognition." "I still feel like I walked into a trap by accident," Elias admitted. "I didn't mean for this to happen." "Intent is not necessary," Valoria explained. "Your actions have consequences regardless of your intent. The binding claim ensures that those consequences are positive rather than negative. We will guide you, observe you, and assist you when appropriate." Elias tried to absorb the information. "So, you're like mentors." "Partly," Valoria replied. "Also protectors and advisors." The claim creates a bond based on choice, mutual respect, and acknowledgement. Not all beings appreciate human humor, but we do. It revealed your nature. Elias leaned back in the chair. "And the other two, Astra and Nyx, they will meet with you," Valoria said. "Each of us has a role. Astra will focus on strategy and opportunities. Nyx will study history and records. I observe and guide. Together, we provide a holistic framework of support." Elias rubbed his temples. "I guess I need a manual for this thing." "You will not need a manual," Valoria said. "Experience will teach you more than any book. The galaxy responds to action, not theory." Over the next few days, the station became a whirlwind for Elias. Everywhere he went, whispers followed. Delegates and merchants, usually indifferent to humans, now looked at him with curiosity. Some approached cautiously, others eagerly, seeking insight or alliance. He realized quickly that the claim by three of the oldest and most influential beings in the galaxy had turned him into a symbol of courage, honesty, and unpredictability. Despite the attention, Elias tried to continue his work. He translated messages, coordinated communication, and maintained his usual routines. But every interaction reminded him of the claim. Every gesture, every word, every choice seemed magnified under the unseen eyes of Astra, Nyx, and Valoria. One evening he found himself alone in the observation deck, staring at the swirling stars. Valoria appeared beside him without a sound. "You contemplate as humans do," she said softly. "I'm trying to understand," Elias admitted. "I never expected a joke to change my life." "It is not uncommon for humans to influence events unintentionally," Valoria said. "Your species thrives on unpredictability. What you call humor, we call insight. It reveals what others hide. That is why the claim was made." Elias laughed quietly. "So humans are dangerous because we make bad jokes?" "In a way," Valoria replied. "You are dangerous because you speak truth without fear. That is rare. Most beings hesitate, plan, or hide. Humans act and the galaxy adapts." The next meeting with Astra and Nyx was different. Astra, tall and commanding, regarded Elias with a mixture of curiosity and assessment. Nyx, calm and analytical, observed him silently. "You have adapted well to the situation," Astra said. "Few humans maintain composure when bound by unfamiliar laws." Elias shrugged. "I try to keep my life simple, Complex rules confuse me. Yet you navigate complexity better than most, Nick said. It is your species' strength, rapid adjustment, improvisation, and resilience. We find it remarkable. Elias felt a flush of pride, though he tried to hide it. I suppose it's something humans do without thinking. Yes, Astra agreed. Without thinking, yet with purpose. You survive by doing what is unexpected, and that is a form of power. Over the following weeks, Elias began to see the practical effects of the claim. When disputes arose in trade negotiations, the presence of the sisters gave him unexpected authority. He could speak with confidence, knowing that the binding claim carried weight. Delegates listened, not because they feared him, but because they respected the silent acknowledgement of the three powerful beings. One day, a situation arose that tested the claim. A minor dispute between two alien factions threatened to escalate into a bureaucratic stalemate. Elias, unsure of the proper procedure, decided to approach the issue honestly. He addressed both factions calmly, explaining the human perspective on compromise and trust. The result surprised everyone. The factions agreed to a solution neither had considered. Later, Astra noted, "You apply the principles of your species effectively. Your honesty and simplicity inspire resolution where complexity fails." Elias smiled. "I just try to speak clearly." Nix leaned back, observing, "Clear speech is a rare commodity in the galaxy. Most prefer hidden agendas. Your species' approach disrupts stagnation." Through these experiences, Elias began to understand the true value of the claim. It was not just protection, it was a bridge between species. By acknowledging him, the sisters had created opportunities for diplomacy, learning, and mutual growth. They had recognized the potential in human unpredictability, and in return, Elias had begun to see his own species in a new light. One evening, Valoria returned to his quarters with a small device. "This will help you communicate with us directly," she explained. "It is not necessary for routine conversation, but it ensures immediate guidance when required." Elias accepted it, feeling a sense of responsibility he had never known before. He was no longer just a human among aliens. He was someone whose words, actions, and choices could influence events on a larger scale. The claim was not a burden. It was an opportunity to grow, learn, and contribute. Weeks passed, and the initial shock of the claim faded. Elias found a rhythm, balancing his work, interactions with the sisters, and his own reflections. He learned to appreciate the subtle guidance offered by Astra, Nyx, and Valoria. Each had a unique perspective, and each challenged him to think differently. Astra encouraged strategic thinking. "Consider the long term, Elias. Your decisions ripple beyond immediate consequences." Nyx emphasized understanding history. "Learn from what has come before. Patterns repeat and knowledge ensures foresight." Valoria focused on observation and reflection. "Notice subtleties. The smallest actions often have the largest impact." Through their guidance, Elias began to see the galaxy not as a vast, incomprehensible place, but as a network of possibilities, shaped by choices, honesty, and courage. Humans, despite their short lifespans and seemingly fragile nature, had a unique ability to inspire, disrupt, and connect. One evening, as he stood on the observation deck, looking at the swirling lights of the station and distant stars beyond, he realized something profound. The claim had not changed who he was. It had revealed the potential within him, amplified by the wisdom of beings far older and wiser than himself. A soft voice interrupted his thoughts. "You have adapted well," Astra said, appearing beside him. Elias turned, smiling. "I think I'm starting to understand. It's not about being claimed or protected. It's about using the opportunity to grow and connect." Nyx appeared quietly. "Precisely. And you have done so with integrity. That is rare, even among humans." Valoria joined them, her presence calm and steady. The galaxy watches, learns, and adapts, so do we, but your species, your honesty, humor, and courage remains unique. That is why we claimed you." Elias laughed softly. "And here I thought it was just a bad joke." The three sisters smiled faintly, a rare expression of warmth from beings who had lived centuries. "Humans often surprise us," Astra said. "And sometimes," Nyx added, "they teach us to see differently." Elias looked at them, feeling a sense of connection he had never imagined possible. The claim was not a restriction, nor a danger. It was a bridge, a bond built on recognition, respect, and the unpredictable beauty of human nature. As the stars swirled beyond the observation deck, Elias realized that life would never be the same. He was still human, still single, still learning, but he was no longer alone in the galaxy. The claim had turned a joke into an adventure, and an ordinary human into a symbol of courage, honesty, and the power of simply speaking one's truth. And somewhere deep inside, Elias knew that the galaxy had just begun to notice what humans were capable of. Life on the Nebula Trade Station had settled into a new rhythm for Elias Ward, though it was far from ordinary. The binding claim, which had initially felt like a strange burden, had become an invisible guide, shaping the way he moved through the galaxy's complex web of diplomacy and culture. Each day, he learned something new, not just about alien civilizations, but about himself. It began with small moments. Delegates from various species approached him with questions, seeking advice, or simply curious about human insight. At first, Elias had been hesitant, unsure how much authority he truly had. The sisters had told him repeatedly that the claim was not about dominance or control, yet their silent presence lent him influence he had never experienced before. Words that might once have been ignored were now heard and considered seriously. Astra often reminded him of the strategic value of this attention. "Do not underestimate the impact of human unpredictability," she said one morning. "You are a bridge, Elias. A single word from you can shift negotiations, inspire compromise, or reveal hidden motives." "That is a rare strength in the galaxy," Elias had laughed. "I'm just trying to survive without getting into trouble." "Survival is the first step," Astra replied. "But growth comes when you learn to act with awareness." Nyx, on the other hand, emphasized history. She spent hours showing Elias ancient records of civilizations that had thrived or fallen, highlighting how small choices had led to great consequences. "Humans compress experiences into short lifespans," she explained. "Your species learns quickly, adapts rapidly, and often speaks truths that others hide. That is why you are noticed. That is why the claim was made." Valoria's guidance was quieter, yet equally profound. She encouraged observation, reflection, and mindfulness. "Notice how every interaction matters," she said softly. "Even moments that seem trivial carry significance. Your humor, your honesty, your curiosity, these are all tools of influence." Despite the sisters' guidance, Elias still struggled with the attention he received. He was human, after all, and humans valued simplicity and freedom. Being noticed by three of the galaxy's oldest beings, and by every other delegate who knew of the claim, was overwhelming. Yet he could not deny a growing sense of purpose. One afternoon, a situation arose that tested the claim in unexpected ways. A dispute between two alien factions threatened to escalate into a trade conflict. Both sides were skilled negotiators, each with centuries of experience. Their arguments were complex, layered with unspoken customs and subtle threats. Elias was brought in as a mediator, unsure of how he could contribute. The sisters observed quietly from the sidelines. Astra whispered strategic suggestions, Nyx reminded him of historical precedents, and Valoria encouraged him to focus on the underlying human perspective: honesty, simplicity, and clarity. Elias took a deep breath and addressed both factions. "I understand that this disagreement is important to your civilizations," he began. But humans often solve problems by speaking clearly and listening carefully. I propose we focus on common goals rather than past grievances." The room went silent. The delegates exchanged skeptical glances, expecting the human to falter under pressure. But Elias continued, calmly and patiently outlining solutions that emphasized compromise, trust, and collaboration. By the end of the session, both factions had agreed to a resolution. No threats were made, no ultimatums issued, just clarity, honesty, and human reasoning. Astra nodded approvingly. "You acted wisely," she said. "Your species' approach is remarkable." Nyx added, "Your simplicity disrupted a stalemate that centuries of negotiation had failed to resolve." Valoria smiled softly. "Your words carried weight because they were genuine. The galaxy responds to truth more than to authority." That evening, Elias found himself on the observation deck, staring at the swirling lights of distant stars. The events of the day had left him exhilarated and exhausted. Valoria joined him without a sound, her presence calm and reassuring. "You have done well," she said. "But remember, influence comes with responsibility. The claim ensures guidance, but it does not remove consequences. Every choice has impact." Elias nodded. "I understand. I think I'm beginning to see what it means to be claimed." "It is not a burden," Valoria said. "It is opportunity. You are human, yet your species holds a power that others often overlook. The ability to speak truth, act boldly, and inspire trust. The claim amplifies that power, but it does not create it. That was always within you." Over the following weeks, Elias' life grew increasingly intertwined with the sisters. They guided him through diplomatic matters, introduced him to unusual species, and challenged him to think in ways he had never imagined. He learned to anticipate cultural nuances, decode unspoken signals, and use humor as a tool rather than a shield. Yet, despite the intensity of these experiences, the sisters never imposed. They offered guidance, observation, and advice, but they never demanded obedience. The claim was a recognition of potential, not control. Elias began to appreciate the subtle balance of respect, trust, and influence that the claim represented. One night, as Elias prepared for sleep, Astra appeared at his quarters. "You have grown," she said simply. "Your understanding of responsibility, influence, and diplomacy has increased. Few humans achieve such insight in their short lifespans." Elias smiled, feeling a quiet pride. "I didn't expect to learn so much from a joke." "Humor is a window," Astra replied. "It reveals character, values, and courage. Your joke led to recognition, and recognition led to growth. That is the human way." Nyx appeared silently beside her. "The galaxy has noted your approach. You are no longer just a participant. You are a symbol of human adaptability and insight. That is rare, even among your kind." Elias felt a sense of awe. He had never imagined that his casual humor, his honesty, and his curiosity could have such an impact. Yet, standing there with three beings who had lived centuries, he realized that humans, though short-lived, could influence eternity in subtle, meaningful ways. The next challenge came unexpectedly. A rogue faction, unfamiliar with human culture or the claim, attempted to manipulate him during a trade negotiation. Elias could feel the tension in the room, the unspoken threat of failure, but the claim provided a quiet confidence. He knew that the sisters were observing, guiding, yet allowing him to act independently. Drawing on everything he had learned, Elias addressed the faction directly, calmly exposing inconsistencies in their plan without accusation. He suggested alternatives that preserved their dignity while achieving a fair outcome. The faction hesitated, then agreed to compromise. The room erupted quietly in relief and appreciation. Later, the sisters commended him. "You apply human principles with remarkable skill," Astra said. "Your actions prevent conflict and foster cooperation. That is the essence of leadership." Nyx nodded. You have turned unpredictability into advantage. You inspire trust without authority. Few beings, human or otherwise, possess this ability. Veloria smiled faintly. You act with clarity and honesty. That is why the claim exists, not to control but to recognize. You have proven yourself worthy. Elias felt a warmth of satisfaction. The claim was no longer strange or intimidating. It was a partnership, a mutual acknowledgement of potential and responsibility. He had begun as a human with a joke and found himself recognized by some of the most ancient beings in the galaxy. One evening, as the station rotated quietly around Kynara, Elias reflected on the journey. The claim had changed him, not in who he was, but in how he understood himself and the universe. He had discovered that being human was more than fleeting life. It was courage, honesty, and the ability to connect across cultures. Astra, Nyx, and Veloria joined him on the observation deck. The stars shimmered beyond the station's walls, a reminder of the vastness of the galaxy and the endless possibilities within it. You have adapted, grown, and inspired, Astra said. Few humans achieve such understanding. Few beings of any kind do. Nyx added, the claim recognizes not dominance but insight. You have proven your worth by embracing opportunity, not avoiding it. Veloria smiled softly. Humans may be short-lived, but their actions ripple across time and space. Your honesty, courage, and humor create impact beyond your lifespan. That is why we claimed you. Elias laughed quietly, feeling a mixture of humility and pride. I still can't believe a joke started all of this. It is the human way, Astra said. To act with truth, often unknowingly, and shape destiny in unexpected ways. Elias looked at them, understanding at last. The claim was not about control, protection, or obligation. It was about recognition, opportunity, and the unique power of humanity. He was still human, still single, and still learning. But he was no longer unnoticed. He was acknowledged, respected, and connected by beings who had seen potential and chosen to honor it. As the stars shimmered outside the observation deck, Elias felt a sense of wonder. The galaxy was vast, full of challenges, surprises, and opportunities. He was human, fleeting but courageous, ordinary yet remarkable. And with the guidance and acknowledgement of Astra, Nyx, and Veloria, he was ready to embrace it all. For the first time, Elias truly understood what it meant to be claimed, not as a burden but as a gift. The galaxy had noticed humanity's strength, and in that recognition he had found a place where he could grow, influence, and connect. And somewhere deep inside, he knew that this was only the beginning of an extraordinary journey. Life on the Nebula Trade Station had taken on a rhythm that was both familiar and extraordinary for Elias Ward. Days flowed with the usual tasks of translation, negotiation, and observation. Yet every step he took was now subtly guided by the presence of Astra, Nyx, and Veloria. Their influence was not heavy-handed. Rather, it was a quiet awareness, a constant reminder that his words and choices had meaning far beyond what he had ever imagined. Elias had begun to notice subtle changes in himself. He walked with more confidence, spoke with more clarity, and listened with intention. Where he once saw the galaxy as a confusing swirl of customs and species, he now perceived it as a network of possibilities, connections, and opportunities. The claim was no longer a strange burden. It was a lens through which he could understand the universe more deeply. One morning, as he reviewed messages from various diplomatic channels, a notification caught his attention. A human delegation from another sector was scheduled to arrive on the station for trade negotiations. Elias felt a surge of responsibility. These newcomers were unaware of the binding claim, and he realized that his behavior could influence how humans were perceived across the galaxy. Veloria appeared beside him silently, as she often did. "This is an opportunity," she said. "Observe, guide, and represent. Your actions reflect your species, and your species reflects the galaxy. Be mindful, Elias nodded, taking a deep breath. "I'll do my best. I think I understand what that means now." When the delegation arrived, Elias met them personally. They were cautious at first, unsure of the reception they would receive in a station populated by a variety of species. Elias greeted them with warmth and honesty, explaining the nuances of alien customs without overwhelming them. His straightforward approach immediately eased tension, allowing the humans to feel comfortable while still respecting the complex social environment of the station. The sisters observed quietly from a distance. Astra noted subtle movements in Elias' posture and the calm assurance in his voice. "He has learned to project confidence without arrogance," she said to Nyx. Nyx nodded, "and he adapts quickly." His species' unpredictability combined with observation allows him to navigate unfamiliar scenarios. That is a rare combination. Valoria's eyes were calm, reflective. He is beginning to understand the subtlety of influence. Words, gestures, and presence matter more than many beings realize. The trade negotiations proceeded smoothly. Elias acted as translator, mediator, and advisor, but also as a bridge between human and alien perspectives. His honesty and clarity allowed both sides to communicate effectively, and by the end of the first day, agreements had been reached that satisfied all parties. That evening, Elias reflected on the success. The delegation expressed gratitude, noting that Elias' guidance had made the difference between misunderstanding and cooperation. He realized that humans, despite being short-lived, carried a unique ability to inspire trust and collaboration, a quality the galaxy often overlooked. The sisters joined him in the observation deck later, their presence a comforting reminder of the claim. "You have performed admirably," Astra said. "Your species' strengths are becoming more apparent to others because of your actions." Nyx added, "Trust grows where honesty is present. You provide that naturally." Few species, human or otherwise, possess this ability in such clarity. Valoria smiled faintly. "This is what the claim intends to reveal, the potential within you and within humanity. Recognition creates opportunity, and opportunity creates growth." Elias nodded, feeling a quiet sense of pride. "I never imagined that my actions could have this kind of impact. It feels overwhelming sometimes." "It is natural to feel that way," Astra replied. "The weight of responsibility is not a burden, but a reminder that your choices matter. You are capable of more than you realize." The following days brought further challenges. A minor diplomatic dispute arose between two alien factions over trade rights. Both sides were entrenched, unwilling to compromise, and accustomed to negotiating with beings who thought in centuries rather than decades. Elias knew that a single misstep could escalate the situation. He consulted with the sisters, carefully considering their advice. Astra emphasized strategy and foresight. Nyx reminded him of historical patterns, and Valoria encouraged him to remain calm and observe subtleties. Armed with their guidance, Elias approached the negotiation. He spoke honestly, focusing on shared goals and common interests. He used humor lightly, not to distract, but to ease tension. His straightforward approach, combined with a deep understanding of cultural nuances, gradually opened a path for compromise. By the end of the discussion, both factions had agreed to terms that were fair and sustainable. Astra nodded approvingly. "You applied strategy and insight effectively. Your species' simplicity is not a weakness. It is an advantage when used thoughtfully." Nyx added, "History favors clarity and honesty. You understand that instinctively, and that understanding guides others." Valoria smiled softly. "You have demonstrated the value of human perspective. Recognition without arrogance is rare. You inspire trust, and trust fosters collaboration." As the days turned into weeks, Elias continued to navigate the complexities of the station. He realized that the claim had not only affected him personally, but had also begun to influence how humans were perceived in galactic society. Delegates and ambassadors who had once dismissed humans as fleeting and inconsequential now treated them with respect. His species, unique combination of honesty, humor, and adaptability, had become a symbol of potential. One evening, Elias walked through the station gardens, a quiet place where artificial sunlight and carefully engineered plants created a sense of peace. He thought about the journey he had undertaken since that fateful joke. A joke had turned into a claim, the claim had turned into responsibility, and responsibility had revealed potential he had not known he possessed. Valoria appeared silently beside him. "You reflect thoughtfully," she said. "That is good. Reflection ensures growth. You are learning not only to act but to understand the impact of action." Elias nodded. "I see now that being claimed was never about restriction. It was about recognition and opportunity. It helped me see what humans are capable of." "Exactly," Valoria said. "Recognition opens doors. Opportunity creates paths. Your species has the courage to walk those paths with honesty, and that is why the claim exists." Astra and Nyx joined them, their presence calm but commanding. Astra spoke first. "You have adapted remarkably well. Your understanding of strategy, responsibility, and influence is impressive for any being, let alone a human." Nyx added, "Your growth is visible in your actions. You inspire others not by force but by clarity and honesty. That is rare, even among advanced species." Elias smiled, feeling a quiet sense of pride. "I never imagined that a joke could lead to all this. I feel like my life has changed completely." Astra's expression softened. "Humans often act without realizing the full impact of their choices. That is your strength. You influence without knowing it, and that influence can shape the galaxy in subtle but profound ways." Valoria's eyes reflected the soft glow of the garden. "You are human, yet your presence carries weight. Recognition allows you to harness that weight, not as a burden but as a tool. That is the essence of the claim." The sisters spent the evening with him, sharing insights, observations, and guidance. They discussed strategy, history, and the subtleties of diplomacy, but also encouraged Elias to explore his own understanding of human nature. Through their mentorship, he learned to balance honesty with tact, humor with seriousness, and individuality with collaboration. Over time, Elias began to notice changes in himself that went beyond skill or knowledge. He felt more confident in his interactions, more aware of his impact on others, and more capable of navigating complex situations. The claim had not changed who he was. It had revealed the potential he had always possessed. One night, as he stood on the observation deck watching the distant stars, he reflected on the journey so far. The galaxy was vast, full of opportunities and challenges, and he was just one human among countless beings. Yet, through honesty, courage, and the guidance of Astra, Nyx, and Valoria, he had found a way to influence, inspire, and connect. The sisters appeared beside him silently, their presence a familiar comfort. Astra spoke first. "You have grown, Elias. You understand the balance of responsibility and freedom, influence and humility. That understanding is rare." Nyx added, "Your actions reflect not only your abilities but also the strengths of humanity. That is why the claim remains significant. It is not about control, it is about recognition and potential." Valoria smiled softly. "Humans may be short-lived, but their choices ripple across time and space. Your courage, honesty, and adaptability create impact beyond your lifespan. That is why we claimed you." Elias looked at them, feeling a mixture of humility and pride. He had started as a human who made a simple joke, unaware of the consequences. Now, he understood the depth of his influence and the responsibility it carried. The claim had transformed him, not by changing who he was, but by revealing the possibilities inherent in his species. As the stars shimmered beyond the observation deck, Elias felt a quiet sense of wonder. The galaxy was vast, complex, and full of challenges, yet it was also full of opportunities to learn, grow, and connect. He was human, fleeting but courageous, ordinary yet remarkable. And with the guidance and recognition of Astra, Nyx, and Veloria, he was ready to embrace whatever came next. For the first time, Elias truly understood the gift of the claim. It was not a burden, a restriction, or a punishment. It was an acknowledgement of potential, an opportunity for growth, and a bridge to understanding the vast, interconnected galaxy. And somewhere deep inside, he knew that this was only the beginning of an extraordinary journey.